and welcome to this, quite frustrating emergency podcast of songs nobody asked me for. 12 episodes in, and I have a big dilemma and issue, and I've decided not to put out episode 13 yet, because if you watch this on Spotify, you will have discovered that episode 12 last week did not arrive. I mean, it did arrive very briefly. It arrived for about 15 minutes. And then what happened was, I can see it's very good. In another way, it's kind of frustrating, is that Spotify noticed that I used a track that they were worried about the copyright for. And the track was called How to Save the Day, and it was by this band called The Curve, I think. I don't know if you've heard of them. But it was very frustrating to me because, obviously this is my track, so that's fair enough. I kind of think, well, this is good because, it should be a thing that's difficult for people to sort of use my stuff without my permission. So you have to do this appeal, and I wrote this appeal and just said, look, this is my track. Checked with my new pal ChatGPT about what should I ask about this, and it suggested, obviously I'm doing that, but it suggested I ask also whether they could link my band tracks that are on Spotify to the podcast so that this didn't happen again. It also suggested, which I have done, on the bio of the band, putting on there, please follow our podcast, Songs Nobody Asked Me For, and on the Songs Nobody Asked Me For, say, please follow our band, so that they're linked on there, so if somebody was to look into it. But I've not heard. I did have an email back, to be fair, and they said, could you please clarify under what basis you're saying, you should be able to use this music? And I said, it was number 2 of theirs, which was that I own the music, I own the copyright to this music. I wrote the bloody song, That's how I feel. I feel a bit fuming. I don't try to be fuming on here, because I think publicly fuming about things when, you don't really know what's going on is not helpful. But I am quite frustrated today because I think it's just a thing you go look at and you go, oh, yeah, okay. And I asked on that 2 other questions. I said, is there a way that you can set this up now so that you can link the 2 together? So if you see something come up from The Curve on this podcast, you're going to know it's me. That seems pretty simple, You're just a thing And AI said that was doable. And then the other dilemma I'm going to have, which I've asked them about, is I've got other people's coming on soon. I have people on this that I've interviewed now, bands. I'm really excited about. Because this is as contemporaneous as I've ever been, because I'm doing this the day before it's coming out. So I know where I am, 28 episodes down the line, got a few interviews and that there, but I use people's original music. I want to support them. I want to promote their music, So I've said, look, this is going to happen. I got advice from ChatGPT right at the very beginning of all of this that said what I needed to do was to just get email consent from them to use their music, which I have from all of them. But I don't know. Is it going to get blocked again? I have a chest infection, which is quite frustrating. It's the end of it, but I can't talk much, so I didn't want to have to do this. But it's important. I want to speak to you because. My other alternative may be to get people to give me an audio of some live performance of theirs, or home recording or something, so that I can use something that's not on Spotify. It's just frustrating because I wanted to show you when I'm interviewing somebody, I wanted to say, look, here's this amazing music this person's done. You can check it out on Spotify, and just have it at the beginning there and the end, the actual music on Spotify and streaming music, so that you could listen to it. You think, I like that. You could Shazam it, you could go and then you'd find it, Seems pretty simple. I think, at a time when one of the frustrations as an artist I see, this is fine for me, I'm an older artist, I'm not looking to make it in this business, really, as I've always said, anything comes along, that's great, but you look at the monetization of Spotify, and I think they're changing it now, that you have to have 1,000 listens to any track to monetize it at all. Well, why? It's kind of, I think, well, if someone's listening to my track, I should get something for that. It's fine. I was thinking the other day, I looked at this, and I've had music on Spotify for 4 years, and I've so far made $15 over 4 years. And it's hilarious, really. And it doesn't matter to us. I just think it's funny. I like having my music out there, and that's a great plus of Spotify and all these things. Is like it gets my music out there. But then when they police it, you would kind of think they'd be policing it for me. But are they? It's because I don't make any money out of it, so I really don't know how I'm supposed to respond to it, really. So I've said, look, this is my music. Please, could you? And the trouble is, I don't know whether what's going to happen is every time I use somebody's music, it's going to get blocked in the first place. I'll then have to respond to it before I can get it released, and that interrupts the flow of the podcast. That's the thing I'm most frustrated about. This is a new podcast. I mean, it's early days for me, and it's not massive, but it's been growing in little ways. Episode 10, I think it was, overall had about 50 listens, and I was really chuffed by that. That's much higher than the others, and that's fine. Maybe it's something in the title, I don't know. But you need momentum, and weekly podcasts coming out, people getting into it where they listen or watch. And so to have this happen really early on is just really frustrating. So I thought rather than putting episode 13 out, I would do this. I would say hi. I would tell you what I'm frustrated about. And then I would. I'm going to try and resolve it. It's there. I'm hoping they'll resolve it because there's nothing wrong in it. It is my music. I have every right to use it. And in the first instance, I want episode 12 back. Episode 13 is my interview with Pav, and I've used a track from a band in London, which I haven't put on Spotify or out there on social media yet, really. So that should be fine. But if you watch this on Spotify or listen on Spotify, you can catch episode 12 on YouTube. I didn't have any problems getting it onto YouTube. They're the two places I post, and then I think if you follow this on Apple, then that goes automatically from Spotify. So I don't know whether that means that's also been stopped. It's very, very frustrating, and yeah, it's hard work. It's combined with a couple of things. I mean, I watched this amazing speech from the lead singer of Garbage the other day on social media, saying they were quitting. It was going to be their last American tour because they said it wasn't really affordable. So for them, they could manage it, but they're saying, and she really put in this amazing speech about younger artists and people trying to come through and how they just can't afford to do it anymore. And I emailed her. I found her email address and I've emailed her because I really want to. I'd love to interview her on here. I'm really trying to find someone who's a bit more well known that would come and have an interview with me, because I figured if that would really help me get on the map a little bit more. But it has to have meaning. I'm not going to just do that for some glib reason. But she seemed a person I would love to speak to her about that from a grassroots perspective and what I see in on the grassroots level. I also what was the other thing that's right, I saw an Instagram clip of Richard Osman talking to somebody. I think it was on there, The Rest is Entertainment, but he was asking the question to the other presenter of how much music do you think you would need to sell in order to make just minimum wage by having your music streamed on Spotify? Minimum wage. And he said it would be the equivalent to Alison Moyet. You would have to sell as many and have as many listens as Alison Moyet just to get minimum wage on Spotify for your music. And it's such a conundrum because, back when I was young and was trying to make it, the only way you could get your music out was through publishing, getting it published and getting a record contract. And people got ripped off all the time, but you could still make money once you got to that place. So it was really hard to achieve. Gigging was easier. There was more live music being listened to, original music. Whereas now it's really easy to get your stuff out there, and it's great. And I don't diss that, because for me, that's what I want. I don't need the money. Well, the money would be nice. I'm not looking for the money. I'm not looking for that. But for young artists, the ability to just do this as a thing, it's almost impossible, because there's just not the money in it. And it's been a bit of a funny week for that. I've been talking to a young man I know well, and I've interviewed on one of these in some capacity. That I've interviewed a lot of people on here now, so you won't know that yet. But he's we've been struggling together about how hard it is with the original music scene sometimes, and he was describing that he just spends a lot of time of having to deal with a lot of hassle and clean up a lot of shit, is essentially what he said. And that was for keeping your band sweet. If you're the person who's behind it and you're writing and creating and you're the one that ends up looking for gigs and trying to find this stuff, you have to deal with this stuff all the time. And then he's some issues in his band and people just not appreciating what he was doing. And I was just saying, I don't think people realise the work and the effort that goes into being an originals band, trying to get gigs, trying to get online, trying to get noticed, raising your profile. It's really a lot. And for me, it's fine, I don't mind. Because, I'm sort of semi-retired. I have a living, I work, I kind of, it's more than a hobby. It's much more than a hobby. This is my passion, my interest. But I have the time and the space and the financial security at some level to think, I'm just going to do this and try and enjoy it. But for again, I think particularly for young artists, trying to move forward in this is so frustrating. So I'm not going to say a lot more. I realise I haven't put my lights on in here, so it might be a little bit dim. But I am here, and I wanted to say I've really appreciated so far everybody supporting me. And again, I don't get many comments yet. So if anybody would want to comment and just say, hello, and let me know you're out there, and say something nice. I've privately had a couple of nice comments and feedback from people about my style and just feeling I'm quite natural and come across as very genuine, and which is mostly what I want. But it's good to get that reinforcement, and I'm really so sorry about episode 12. You can go watch it on YouTube, but I'm hoping even by tomorrow I'll have got this resolved, and that they'll let me put it out again. I'm not going to put any music on this one because I just don't want anything to go wrong with it, really. So it's literally just going to be a little silent intro. Is it going to be a silent intro? I might stick something on. What I might do, and you'll know if I have, put something on from my band in London, just because a prelude for Meeting Pav, but also just because I know it's not on Spotify, so they can't fuck it up for me, really. Right, I need to stop talking. I'd like to talk more. It's opened up a little vein of conversation, but I guess it's for episode 29. You're going to have to hang in there. Do come and support the band. Hashtag Music the Curve. Get us over that £1,000 listens to a track. I might get, start getting my half a pence a listen again, or whatever it is that they're talking about giving us. Hopefully Spotify will sort this out soon, so we can be back online again. But I don't know. But I will say no more. I will be back next week, and whatever happens next week, or I will be next Friday. I will be putting on my interview with Pav, which I really enjoyed. But as I say at the beginning of it, the sound quality is poor. But if you can watch it, I've put subtitles on it, all sorts, and it's going to be great. And again, it has a track from a London band, so we should manage to get the next two out anyway. Take care, and I shall be around. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to work this out, and I'm going to be back. When others have their say, it's far too complex for a man of steel to say today. When I think too deep,